We're going to talk about simple social skills systems for successfully finding and keeping the people you want in your life. And this is all kinds of relationships. How many people are here just thinking about friends? Like, I just wish I had a friend or two, or a couple more friends. Good. How many of you are thinking, like, I kind of want to date or do something a little more romantic, or maybe even get married at some point, okay? How many of you are in a relationship right now and you're like, I need to get better at this because I want to keep this relationship, okay? Good. And then others, you guys are great. As you have questions and stuff, please ask. I might have to push through just so we can get through some of the content here, but I'm really hopeful this will be useful to you. I'm happy to send you everything. So if I go through a slide really quickly or anything like that and you're like, I missed that, just email me. I will get you all the things, okay? Also, there is a handout. I don't think I have enough. I never know how many people are going to come to AucCon. Can I get a volunteer to help hand out, thank you, stuff? And I will make sure everybody gets, yeah, could you give half to her and then you guys just go do the two, thank you. Thanks so much. By the way, what I just did right there is an example of the system I'm going to be teaching you guys. People, like she said in her video, like Jessica said, social skills, relationships, nobody out there knows what they're doing. Everybody's experimenting. Everybody's doing the best that they can. And so much of it is just getting out there and experimenting. Who are my scientists in here? We've got that scientific special interest. Good. My scientists, you have a hypothesis, you take action to test the hypothesis, and then you adjust your hypothesis. And that's exactly how we all have to do social. So here's a simple system, right? For introductions, give a polite greeting, share your name, highlight some personal connection or link there, and offer a clarification or request. Sounds pretty simple, right? Okay, here's a wonderful example. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. Okay? Did he hit all the points? Heck yes! They're all there, right? You got the polite greeting, sharing the name, you've got a very definite personal link and a personal request. Okay? So I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying these systems are foolproof. I'm saying it's possible. So if you've given up on this stuff, you're too early. Relationships are hard. Okay, I am the kid in this drawing. This could have been me as a kid, right? This lady's freaking out about spiders, and I'm freaking out about people. I liked spiders when I was little. Spiders were cool. I would walk around and collect spiders in jars and then keep them in my house, and then I think they ate each other, but I didn't realize that, so I'd go to my mom and I'd be like, there are fewer spiders today, and my mom would be like, why are you bringing spiders in my house? Because she was sure they were all getting out and crawling on her. Spiders are great. They don't talk back. Spiders never bully me, make fun of me. They're really predictable. Any other lovers of spiders in here and insects? Yes, okay. Animals in general are really cool. I love that we have like emotional support bunnies here today. It's awesome. Somebody brought their emotional support bunny. It's awesome. Seabrook. So, how many in here have ever just given up on people, just decided like, I'm done? How recently? Okay, within the last 10 years? Okay, within the last 5 years? Keep your hands up. Within the last 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, last 6 months? Okay, yes, we often will give up on people, right? When I was in 7th grade, I was 12 years old. It was Christmas. I didn't have an autism diagnosis, but boy, oh boy, had I reached that point that it talks about in the diagnosis where the lifetime stresses exceeded my skill level. I wasn't thriving. Coming from elementary school to junior high almost killed me. What are some of the differences between elementary school and junior high? Puberty. Okay, yeah, so my body's changing because we're not delayed physically, right? And everybody else's is, and all of a sudden, like, the people who did talk to me, they don't want to talk about G.I. Joe and Sesame Street anymore. They want to talk about girls, which I thought we had established in 3rd grade had cooties, and we don't need to talk about them. But yes, another difference. Okay, the trauma levels go up in junior high. How many people in here had a traumatic junior high? Okay, it was awful for me. So the bullying got worse. I'd been bullied in elementary school, but as everybody's got more hormones and everybody got more socially aware, a lot of people started bullying me, and I was dreading going to school a lot. Yeah. You're in more classes. How many teachers do you have in elementary school? One, pretty much, right? And they might take you somewhere else, but you only have one teacher. All of a sudden, I went from one teacher to 7 teachers, each with different classrooms, different sets of rules, all that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, that was a huge change for me. Yeah. Oh, William and Kenny, okay. Yeah, my friends from elementary school, a lot of them had moved on, and now there was all these extra kids who came to the junior high who weren't at my elementary school. There was a lot more people in the junior high. I had more classes. They had more academic demands. And my sensory issues were getting worse and more noticeable as I was the kid who wanted to wear the same clothes every day. Showering was painful for me, and so I didn't shower every day. But when you start going through puberty, what do you need to start doing? Showering daily, or at least really using deodorant, right? So I was having terrible experiences socially. And in Christmas vacation, I survived through somehow, I don't know how, to December. And it's Christmas vacation, and I realized I am never going to have another happy day again if I know I have to go back to school in January. So I told my parents, I said, I'm done. I'm done with people, I'm done with the world, and I'm done with school, and I'm never going back. Now, for those of us with autism, you may have noticed, but we can be a little bit stubborn. Just a little, right? My parents, they begged and bargained and threatened and bribed and pleaded and cajoled and tried to get other people to talk to me about what a terrible decision I was making, and I didn't budge. And finally they came to me and they said, Jared, you're 12, you can't drop out of high school, even in Alaska, which is where I was. I was on an island in Alaska, just to give you some context. And I said, well, I'm not going back. And they said, well, we talked with the school district and they're willing to let you do correspondence classes because I am a dinosaur and lived long before the internet. Anybody know what correspondence classes are? Got a guess? Yes, thank you, Divey. Good. Yeah, it was independent study before computers. They would mail me a packet that had all like my English and my math and stuff, and I would just finish those packets, send them back, and they would send me new ones. And my parents were like, is that okay? I'm like, where has this been for the last 12 years of my life, right? I was done. So I stayed at home. I saw nobody except at church, and I didn't know anybody at church. There was no kids my age. And that was my life. Oh, and I watched The Price is Right every day at 3 o'clock because it was our one channel, and I could tell you the retail value of any item in California in 1985. But anyway, I gave up on people, okay? And we all do this from time to time. We tend to be all or nothing. We have one experience with people, and we're like, that's it, I'm done. We go dating. How many of you have had a bad experience dating or trying to date, okay? And we're like, that's it, I'm done. Or a bad experience in college, that's it, I'm done, right? Bad experience at work, I guess I will just live off food stamps, right? Whatever it is, we tend to give up and then stay given up because it sucks. People are the best and the worst thing about life. I mean, think about it, right? The most unpleasant memories in my life almost always involve other people who I'm just not connecting with in some way, or they're connecting with me in a really negative way. But guess what? How many of you can think of a memory that involves somebody else that was just one of the best memories of your life? Okay. Many of the very best memories of my life involve other people. Now, are there days when I just want to be me and my Legos and like listening to podcasts or books on audiobook? Yeah, there are a lot of days I'd love that. And that's okay. But what happens if we give up on people? What if we just decide, look, it's not worth it? What happens? Yeah. And how does he feel? Okay, she says her dad stays home and just watches politics all day on YouTube and does nothing else, and he feels miserable. Because here's the unfortunate truth. It's also fortunate. All human beings have certain psychological needs that are hardwired into our species. There is nothing you can do about them. Now, people have different degrees of these needs, but we all have a need for connection with other people. We do. And a lot of autistic adults I talk to, they're like, I got out of college and I'm pathologically lonely. Or I finished high school and I'm pathologically lonely. I'm lonely all the time. How many of you have just felt that lonely before? Okay, we all have, right? If we totally gave up on people, we eventually become terribly lonely and we realize we're missing out on some of the very best pieces of life. But it's like, but how do I do this, right? Relationships, again, they're not like a little treasure you can put in a box. They are a beacon you walk toward, right? And it's got pain. There's always pain in relationships. That's the price we have to be willing to pay. But we can keep walking toward it, and it's worth it because life is about the story we're telling, and that story's got to have more than one character in it. It just does. If you've ever read a book with only one character, please tell me, because I don't know any books where there's only one character, right? Maybe The Very Hungry Caterpillar, right? But I'm talking like actual books, yeah. Yes, I've seen those. But even those are always performed for an audience. You made more? I have the best helpers in the world. Who hasn't got a handout? Raise your hand. Okay. Raise your hand. I'm not going to go through most of the stuff in the handout, so please do have a handout. So, what I want you to get out of this today, even if you're like, okay, Jared's system sucks and that won't work for me, which is fine. All of us, we're autistic, we have our own systems, and I want you to create your own systems, but I want you to realize that you can have the relationships you want. I went from being that kid, completely isolated at 12, 13 years old. I finally went back to school when I was 14, hardest thing I ever did in my life. And here I am 2 master's degrees later. I've been married for 25 years last month. And so, have I made some relationships work? Yep. Have I ruined some relationships? Oh, you better believe it. Have I screwed up socially? So many times, I don't even want to talk about them. And yet, I want you to know that you can have better relationships and more relationships in your life. You absolutely can. Yeah, question, comment? Long distance relationships we'll talk about, but it's the same system that I'm going to show you. It's the same exact system. Okay. All right, so what is that system? It's right there on your handouts. C.A.N, the C stands for connect and communicate, A is for ask at the appropriate level, and N is figuring out the next steps for following up. Because we can do it. We absolutely can. So, over the next hour, we are going to learn how to connect, how to communicate, how to identify the appropriate asks, how to figure out some next steps, and some things we can do if things are starting to go wrong, and how to correct. But I like this definition. A good relationship is when someone accepts your past, supports your present, encourages your future. We all of us want more of those relationships in our lives. But before we start moving on into this amazing new world with healthier, happier relationships, I need to have a little intervention here, okay? We need to talk about the borderline abusive relationship that you are currently in. And we need to end this relationship if you're ever going to get some healthy relationships in your life. Notice here on the relationship spectrum, unhealthy relationships are based on control, breaks in communication, inconsiderate behavior, lack of trust, struggles, only spending time isolated together, harmful communications, disrespect, manipulation, and isolation. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's time to break up with your cell phone, okay? I'm sorry. I know you're like, no, it's going to work. It's going to work. This time, my phone loves me. No. They call them cell phones because we're all in prison. And this goes for video games and any kind of electronics. How many of us just love spending time with electronics? Okay, we all do, right? I'm not telling you don't. What I am saying is this. If we are on our stuff and isolating, we are never going to have the opportunities to play the social game that we need. So the very first pro tip is if you really are serious about having better relationships in your life, put away your distractions, okay? Now, if you're like stimming on your phone while you're listening to me right now, don't worry about it, I'm fine, that's totally cool. You do you, right? But what happens, especially if you're with a neurotypical, and I'm just like, we're trying to talk, and I just pull my phone out. What have I just communicated with her?
You don't care. You just told me that you don't care about what I have to say and what I think.
Exactly. I would rather be anywhere else. I would rather be in cyberspace having Facebook ads than talk to you, right? Now, is that the message I wanted to send? No. In fact, I'm probably doing this because I'm nervous, and I'm probably doing this because that's what I want. But if you want people to connect with you, you've got to be fully present, like Damien talked about. Nothing will sabotage your attempts at relationship faster and more quickly than having your phone out, okay? If we're always on our gaming system, if we're always on our phone, and we're like, man, I wish I had more relationships in my life. Oh wait, Legend of Zelda comes out today, right? Oh, Link, you're my only. Yeah, okay. Really, How many of you feel more connected to fictional characters than to real people? Now, don't feel bad about that. That's autistic and that's awesome, okay? But we don't want that to be our only thing. We don't want that to be our only thing. We want some actual connections with real people because there are things that real relationships can do that we'll never be able to get from our favorite video games or podcasts or whatever, all right? If you find yourself lonely, if you find yourself spending a lot of time isolated, the very first thing to do is cut back on your electronics and find ways to just be fully present. Practice with someone else. Like, if you're still living at home, how many are still living at home? About half. If you're still living at home, next time your mom tries to talk to you or your dad, put your phone away and just kind of look in their general direction and watch. They'll just like stop talking. They'll just be like, what? I can't believe this. So we can connect and communicate, ask at the appropriate level, and come up with some next steps. But first, we've got to clear the playing field so we can actually do this. So, pro tip number 1, put away your electronics. Make time to prioritize relationships. And you know that autistic special interest we all have? Have at least one of your special interest slots. Yes, even if you have to go back and be like, maybe I don't need that Sesame Street slot anymore, okay? Even if you have to go put away the Thomas the Tank Engine slot, come up with one that is a social skills relationship building slot, and let's fill that one. Okay, so let's look at how we connect. A connect is a way to make things safe so that you can pave the way for your ask, your invitation that you're going to give to this person. So how do neurotypicals do it? And again, I'm going to talk tomorrow about masking. I'm not telling you be a neurotypical, but what are some things neurotypicals do that you've observed that can help with that connect? How do they make other neurotypicals comfortable? Man, I gotta pay you. Small talk is correct, okay? Ding, ding, ding. Survey says, yeah. Simple questions, active listening, simple introductions, and friendly body language. This is how neurotypicals have set up the game of connection. Now, the world is not built for us. If it was, it would be very different. So we don't have to copy the neurotypicals, but we need to be aware of their systems, right? Who here likes to make small talk? Okay, some of the older ones have learned it, okay? But kind of because it's forced on us, right? We're autistic. We want to make big talk, right? Small talk is defined as polite conversation about unimportant, uncontroversial matters, especially as engaged in on social occasions, okay? Wow, it's so hot today. I miss all the snow, right? So we'll talk about the weather. Oh, the mountains look beautiful, don't they? Location. I like your shirt. Where did you get it? Clothing. As an autistic, it always bothered me for years and years and years that neurotypicals did this, especially the weather. It was like, wow, it sure is hot. And I'm like, okay, I'm right here. I'm trying to ignore the heat. In fact, I'm very temperature sensitive. I have no desire to even talk about the heat. Of course I know it's hot. You're not helping anything by pointing that out. But I'm missing the point completely. Yeah. Actually share information. Good. When autistics talk, we want to share information. And not just share the information. If I start downloading a file, I'm going to download the file. I'm going to follow you around, and the next time I see you, I'm going to be like, hey, remember when we were talking about this? You know, I only got through like 8 levels of Pokemon, and now I got to tell you about 9, right? You know? So this is what's going to happen, right? But unfortunately, our big talk often is strong opinions, complex ideas, personal details, and strong emotions, which really isn't what most people are looking for. And here's the secret. Even autistics are not looking for it. How many of you have had a conversation with another autistic where they go off on their special interest and you do not share it? And you're like, oh my gosh, do I have to hear about one more iteration of Goku, right? Okay? Super Saiyan 27. Okay, whatever. Here's the cool thing I learned. Small talk is about making neurotypicals, or actually anybody, feel comfortable and safe. If you can't make small talk, the message to the neurotypical is like, whoa, this person is different. And why? What is going on with them? Can't they see it's hot out today? No. When they're sharing stuff about the weather, what are they actually saying? Yeah. Good. Thinking of it as friendly noises. They're saying, I want to connect with you. I want to talk to you about this experience we are sharing. You know, we are both here and it is hot today, and I'm not actually telling you about the heat. I'm telling you, I want to connect with you here in this hot day. Okay? They're friendly noises. That's what they're doing, and we can learn to make them. Yeah.
So, I guess you could put it this way, to make someone feel safe in a relationship, you got to talk to someone the person trusts more.
Good, and to build that trust starts with the very smallest, safest communications, which are small talk. So as an autistic, come up with a couple small talk things you can do, and it tends to help even with other autistics, right? Pro tip, get them to talk more than you. If you're trying to connect, who should be doing most of the talking? They will. Now, if they're playing the game, they might be trying to get you to connect just as much or more. That's fine. But you should be letting them talk about 60 to your 40, right? Which means 3 out of 5 comments should be theirs. 3 out of 5 minutes should be theirs. Yours is the other 2. When we're talking, we've got to avoid potentially divisive, controversial, and offensive topics. I have seen autistics start conversations this way, okay? What medications are you on? Okay. Who did you vote for in the last election? I like girls, okay? None of these things are how neurotypicals start, and they're certainly actually not even how autistics want us to start. We want to have very inoffensive topics, and we want to get interested in the other person. So surrender your ego. Your purpose isn't to sell yourself or to impress them or to dominate or control, right? When I was a little kid, I'd be like, see my cool new toy? Yeah, now you want to be my friend, right? And if they did, what did they want? The toy. They didn't want me. They wanted to be like, oh, you have a gaming system? Yeah. I have no idea what this kid's name is, but I come over every day and I play his gaming system, you know? That's what they do. Yeah, quick. Sure. Yeah. Boom, you've got it. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about here, is we're going to ask open-ended questions. Because I get sick making small talk. And so instead, I get curious. If you want to connect with other people, get curious. Every person you meet, they've got a weird life story. They've got things about them that you don't know. And yeah, they might have a sister who's a painter, or you know, they like painting. Get curious. Why? Do you care about painting? Maybe yes, maybe no, but you get curious because you want this connection, you want this relationship. So everybody is an expert on themselves. So if I have an autistic area of interest, and I'm like, boy, you know, I really enjoy acceptance and commitment therapy and doing that. Like, I'm a behavioral therapist. So it's like, you know, Stephen Hayes in his latest book on acceptance and commitment therapy, if I start that and I start asking her, you know, what do you think of his latest diffusion technique?
Well, I don't know about it, but my mom is working at an occupational therapy.
Okay, you rock. But you got, I know Katrina, she has great social skills. But generally, though, when someone starts talking about a subject that we're like, oh crap, I know nothing about this, we want to get away from that conversation, right? And so we're going to try and talk about things that they know. I guarantee you, everyone you talk to knows themselves. Okay? So what David was talking about there in his example, which was excellent, was getting to know them and letting them talk about themselves. That's their expertise. And so open-ended questions are going to generate this interesting dynamic back and forth that allows you to figure out common interests and beliefs. Okay? Now, yeah. Exactly. Remember, the name of the game is connection, right? The C.A.N is for connect. You've got to find, the name of the game is, as you're asking these questions, you're looking for something I can connect with them on, and connect very briefly, because who's supposed to be doing most of the talking? They are. So if I come up and I'm like, hey, you like Star Wars?
No.
Okay, I've just been shut down now. But if you said yes, if you said yes, that doesn't mean I can launch into my entire rant about the prequels, right? It doesn't work that way. I'm still, the name of the game is connect. I need to find what she thinks about Star Wars and find commonalities I can build on little by little by little, letting who do the most talking? Her, the other person. Yeah.
Yes, it could be referring to as social media.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much like that. Close-ended questions are the ones that I often will see with autism. And I started off doing this too, so we all do this, right? Close-ended questions are when I come up and I'm like, so, are you from Utah? Yes. Do you like trains? No. Do you like ice cream? Okay, right? Thank you, Jaden, and thanks for letting me pick on you. I know Jaden, so I knew I could do that. But very quickly, if I'm just asking close-ended questions, what does it start sounding like?
You're interrogating.
I'm interrogating them. It's like, where were you on the night of September the 24th, you know? Did you or did you not order the code red, right? So the yes, no questions, when we only ask it, it feels terrible. Now, it's okay to use close-ended questions, but then you need to follow them up with open-ended questions. It's great. There's a whole long list in your handout of possible open-ended questions, and there's an infinite amount. Memorize a bunch, get good at it, and then just let the conversation take you where it takes you. Now, while you're doing this, if something comes up that you can share a personal connection on, share that personal connection, just like David was saying, like, oh, actually, I have a sister who paints. That's so cool that you paint. Now, I'm not here to tell you about my sister, but I am here to why did I share that? Because it's not to tell about my sister. What is it for? It's to make the connection. Remember the C here? Connect. That's what it's all about. So I just say, hey, we have something in common. Now let's keep going. Let me find another thing. Because if I'm going to build this relationship, I need to find at least 2 or 3 things we have in common if I'm really going to take this relationship anywhere. Also, if we have nothing in common, do I want this relationship? Probably not at a high level, right? I don't need to be an enemy. You are now my mortal nemesis. No, didn't like Star Wars. No, just kidding. That's not how it goes. Okay, I'm not looking for enemies. I'm looking for friends. So as you're listening to, the game is remember their names, remember important details. I suck at this. Some of you know I suck at this with the names and important details. But that's the game. You're going to validate their experiences. Oh, yeah, okay, I can totally see that. We're going to make them feel special, unique, and valued while we search for what we have in common. Okay? All while being respectful and sincere. So we all have stuff we have in common, right? Dogs and cats, famous for not getting along, but what do they have in common? Oh yeah, hamburgers. Everybody loves hamburgers, okay? As we're looking for common beliefs, actually, I'm a vegan. Show respect for other people's beliefs. If they don't like meat at all, whatever. Point out the common beliefs and interests and purposes, and relate your questions to those things. Once you've found something you have in common, keep exploring that. Because the more you have in common, the more likely you are to have a relationship. Now, everyone in the world is not going to overlap with you, right? Some people you're going to have nothing in common with. My wife and I, we have a ton in common, and we also still have pieces that are different. She will not come build Legos with me, no matter how many times I have invited her. And that is okay, okay? But we're looking for these, right? Because relationships are built on these overlap areas. Your relationship, the size of your relationship is the size of that overlap with the other person. So while we're doing this back and forth of connecting, we always need to listen actively, right? Active listening. Pay full attention, paraphrase, probe, clarify, and find ways to let the other person know you're listening. Because like I said with cell phones, we're really bad at this. As autistics, we tend to, even when we're listening, we look like what? We're not. And poor Dwight from The Office.
It is crucial that you listen, Dwight. Also, you want to respect their...
He always did
Are you
phone
listening
sales.
now?
Yes.
Okay, well, you have to show us.
That's impossible. Listening happens in the ear and in the brain. I mean, some organisms have external hairs that vibrate to indicate auditory stimulation, but unfortunately, our external hairs don't vibrate at all.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
What are you doing?
A little smile and a nod shows that I hear you. Got it?
Kind of.
Nellie, why don't you tell Dwight what we were doing earlier today, and Dwight, you show us that you're listening.
Well, we were in the warehouse where we were discussing the mural that I've commissioned Pam to paint there. We were talking about the colour schemes and the major themes we want to hit. Children of the world coming together, cutting down trees to make paper, but not in a child laboury way.
It's just up and down. Just a regular nod, like a person.
I am a person.
Of
Yes.
course, you're a personal. We can do this, all right? And then we thought I can't carry on with that face. Look at it, I'm going to get nightmares with that face. I mean, he looks like he is labouring over a stool having just eaten human flesh.
It's a bit extreme.
No, I'm sorry, but that is true.
Anyway. Okay, so I used to live in Japan, and this is the Japanese character for active listening. It's Kiku. And this right here means your ear. You can kind of see it's kind of the shape of an ear. This is your eye. There's the pupil right there. This is your heart, and this is actually the number 10. So it's like listening with 10 times, your ears, your heart, and your eyes. How do we listen with our eyes? We'll have to look at them. How many people in here are not into eye contact? Or if you make eye contact, you can't listen, okay? That's really common on the spectrum. So what do? What are some things you can do if you're really struggling with, where do I put my eyes? Because I can't look in their eyes and listen.
I look in between the eyes of the bridge of the nose.
Good. Bridge of the nose works well. Again, if you focus too much on it, they'll start like picking on their face. But yeah, usually the eyebrows are right at the bridge of the nose, usually can work. And again, do you look there for long? No, and then you look away. Neurotypicals don't make eye contact that very long. I've timed it. I've like sat and like made notes while I'm talking to neurotypicals, and then because I'd be like, I can make them look away first, and then I was like, oh wait, that's the wrong game. But it's not creating the connection I wanted. But yeah. Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. We've got to look away. Also, what's the message you're sending if you just keep staring? Right. It's intimidating. Yeah, that's what animals do to like express dominance, and it's intimidating. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, they sure wrote him that way. His character is autistic, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they knew it. So if you're trying to do active listening, this is a system I use. It's called SLANT, partly because I first had to learn that when you're really paying attention to someone, you lean toward them, right? Your whole body kind of points toward them. So you sit up straight, but kind of lean toward them. Listen with full attention, ask and answer questions. You nod to show interest or understanding, and you track the speaker with your eyes where you can. Okay? Also, while you're talking to them, you're going to value and validate them. Even if they share something that you're like, wow, I totally disagree with that, be like, wow, you feel really strong about that. Tell me more. Or like, wow, that's a pretty unconventional opinion. Where did you come up with that? Get curious. Find out more. You'll never know. And validate them. Everyone loves to be validated. Be patient, kind, open to compromise. Assume good intentions. Oh my gosh. How many of us with autism do we get judgmental pretty quick? Oh my gosh. Yeah, autism, it's like click, 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 okay, you're gone, right? And once we've cut it off to somebody, we cut it off. Okay, that's one of the big differences between autism and ADHD. ADHD is like, I'm so mad at you, I'm never talking to you again. 10 seconds later, oh my gosh, look at this, right? Autism is like, I may not even tell you that I'll never talk to you again, but I will never talk to you again. And 10 years later, there's no talk, okay? It's amazing. But if we can be non-judgmental and assume good intentions, that people aren't trying to hurt us, and we're being enthusiastic when we're around them, it's great. I'll talk more about this tomorrow with masking, but showing enthusiasm is the difference between a mud puddle and a geyser, okay? Now, you don't have to go all the way to geyser mode, but you can't just be the mud puddle, right? We've got to show people that we're happy to be around them. Otherwise, they'll never know. My wife, she's like, it's been a while, like Damien was talking about with the reminders on his phone to tell his wife that he loves her. I'm like, my wife will be like, it's been a while since, you said that you love me or that I'm beautiful or anything. And I'm like, oh, well, if it changed, I would have told you, right? But show enthusiasm when you're around them, right? And be sensitive to their areas of challenge. It used to be, if I found that somebody sucked at math because I was really good at math, and it was like junior high, I'd be like, God, you're such an idiot. This is so easy. Did that make me any friends? No. Okay? And also, I had areas of challenge, and I didn't want them talking to me like that about mine, because in PE, guess what they told me? God, you're such an idiot. This is so easy. You can't be on this basketball team. Okay? So when we're trying to show that we're listening, when we're trying to connect with the other person, we need to look at what we're doing with our bodies. I don't have time to do this, but if you're interested, email me. I've got a whole presentation on nonverbal communication. but how we look while we're communicating, the time and place we're communicating, how we're using our body and our face, the sound our voice is making, and how our communication combines with others are critical. There's a little more in your handout. Again, email me if you want more. But these 5 areas, if we're not aware of them, we need to get aware of them. Do we have to mask? Nope. But we need to be aware of these because we're sending messages whether we want to or not. So here's mine. Here's my default. It's my roles because I'm in a play. I'm relaxed, open posture, listening actively, making eye contact, and trying to be sincere and smiling where possible, although I suck at smiling. Okay? So how does it look to sit relaxed? Everybody sit relaxed for a second. Okay? Because a lot of times on the inside we're feeling so much stress and so much pressure about that it's really hard. What is open posture? Sit with open posture for a second. Good, you guys are awesome. Now when we think, they've done studies, when autistics have time to think, we're really good at nonverbals and picking up on nonverbals. But when we're in the moment getting the information from that person in a close personal conversation, what happens? We fail. We aren't able to pick up on that information and interpret it fast enough. And so as a result, practicing something like this can be really helpful. Again, we talked about eye contact. Default facial expression should be very soft and warm. If you're the autistic who has a default smile, how many people in here have like a default smile? I know you do, yeah. Okay, a few, okay. You guys will have much more social success. My default face, okay, I know I'm not paying attention to my face because people will come to me and be like, are you okay? Are you sick? Are you angry? Is something wrong? Did I upset you? And it's like, no, I'm really just thinking, and it must be really horrible because I'm not, it must look awful, okay? But being able to develop a default smile is good. There's what's called a Duchenne smile in the research, probably by autistic professors, on how to smile. It talks about how your eyelids lower a little and use little wrinkles by the eye and by the mouth that can help you know it's a sincere smile. The FBI, when they're going in to negotiate, when they first meet somebody, they give a smile and a flash of the eyebrows. They tilt their head just a little, they keep their chin down, and they keep their hands visible and try to see if they can do a little simple touch with the other person. And this builds trust. There's a website called bodylanguageproject.com. It's totally free. It has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles on different cool things you can do with your body. But get interested in this. If you aren't having the relationships you want and the connections you want, get interested in this stuff because that's what'll make the difference. Yeah.
I found out an interrogation tactic which is supposed to make you seem more friendly to people who you're interrogating, and it's you very softly mimic the same gestures that the person across from you is making, and it will make them feel like you're doing it because you like them.
Good. It's called mirroring. We're going to talk about that tomorrow with masking. But yeah, mirroring is really important, and that's what people do. Watch what the other person's doing with their body language and copy that. Also, if their whole body, when you're trying to connect, if their body keeps pointing further and further away from you, what does that mean? Either they don't want to talk with you or they really don't have the time. So watch their feet is actually a really good way to see this sometimes. Now, when you're talking with someone and you're trying to see, are they interested in this or are they just humoring me? Here's 5 things you can look for. Also, if you want to show them, hey, I'm interested in an actual relationship and not just telling you about the Star Wars prequels, then here are 5 things you can do. Initiation. Watch who starts communicating. If you're always the one that starts, when you see them, if you're always the first person to talk, that's a bad sign. But if they start talking to you when they see you at least half the time, that's a good sign. Positive attention. When they start talking to you, are you getting that facial smile? Are they happy to see you? And then what kind of touch are you getting? Now again, I don't like touch a lot. Touch is very sensitive for me. But what kind of touch do friends, people in relationships, what do they do? Sometimes there may be a hug, but yeah, early ones are like high five, a little knuckles, or a little slap on the shoulder or something. And again, you gotta be careful. A wave, yeah. Eye contact. If the person is always looking away from you, generally that's not a great sign. And if they're always talking about the future without you in it, that's a bad sign too. But if they're talking about like, hey, you know, there's a movie coming up, would you want to go? Or, hey, you know, what are you doing after college or after high school or whatever, you know? If you're not part of the future they're talking about, that's a bad sign. So you're looking for at least 3 of these. If you get to 3 of these, right, you're trying to connect, right? You're making a little bit of small talk. You're asking the open-ended questions. You're giving them the nonverbal signals. You're being enthusiastic. You're listening actively. And they start giving you that positive attention or a little bit of touch or some positive comments or they're laughing at your jokes. Then you're ready to move on to ask. I also want to encourage you to use the 3 strikes rule. If you've tried 3 times with this person to connect and it's just not going anywhere, they're out, okay? 3 strikes, they're out. Now, can you give them another at-bat someday? Sure, of course you can. But you need to be 3 strikes, they're out, because you're otherwise wasting your time. So now we're ready to ask. The ask is an invitation to deepen the relationship. Doesn't even matter what the ask is, it's an invitation to deepen the relationship. And by the way, when you're asking open-ended questions and they answer them, what are you already doing? It's an ask, right? Asks have to be at the right level though, okay? So, what's acknowledgement level?
You look at them and nod.
Okay, just looking and nodding. You are a human being and I am aware of your presence, okay? That's acknowledgement. Most of the people we meet in the world, you know, in the grocery line, in the movie line, at the bus stop, they're acknowledgement, right? Acquaintance, what's the difference between acknowledgement and acquaintance? Yeah, you've actually talked to acquaintance and you're acquainted with them. You might know a couple little surfacey facts. You maybe have made some small talk successfully with them. You might know some things like their name or their birthday or, you know, their favorite ice cream flavor, whatever, or that they don't like Star Wars. You know, whatever it happens to be, okay? Then the next level up, you've got this comrade level. This is people like long-distance relationships where you are in a setting with them. That's a very set setting, okay? So right now, we're all at sea level. Did you guys know that? We are right here at comrade level. This is your classmates, community helpers, coworkers, clubs you're part of, churches, community groups. This is that level. Professionals, if you've got a therapist, they're at this level, okay? It's a great level. You should have a lot of awesome people at this level. But this level is contained, and that means that the relationship gets stuck by the context that it's in, right? You make a cool connection here at OtCon today, you go home and you're like, boy, I hope they see them next year at OtCon. Okay? What's going to happen to that relationship? Nothing. When you come back to OtCon, it might still be right here, but that's where it's going to stay. Because what's the difference between comrade and the actual friend level? Good. You're seeing them outside the context on purpose. Hey, you know, when OtCon's over, you want to go catch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with me? Right? Okay? I just invited you, I just did an ask to get you out of the context and into this new level. Now, if I'm in an elevator with you, and I've never seen you before in my life, and I'm like, so you want to go to Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with me tonight? It becomes creepy. Why? Why is it creepy? Because it's the wrong level. Okay, and of course at the very top you have your closest friends, your most intimate friends, your spouses, your BFFs, and you're gonna have very different asks. I can ask my wife, hey, could you like rub my feet? They really hurt today and I can't reach them. Now, is she gonna say yes? No, well, she might, okay? But am I gonna destroy the relationship by asking once? No, because I'm at that level, okay? Everyone needs someone at that level. Okay. So your ask is not just a question, it's an invitation. It's always figuring out where are they on that hierarchy, and I'm going to connect with them, and then I'm going to ask. So the C is connect, the A is now ask. Don't ever skip levels. It looks so creepy. Okay? So at the acknowledgement level, you're in line at the movies. So what movie are you planning to see? That's about as high as of an ask as you can do, and you should probably connect first. You don't start out with the ask. Okay? Do you know when the best next bus is? Are you here for the OtCon? What do you think of this weather? I haven't seen you before. I'm blank. What's your name? Can I get that door for you? Would you happen to know where room 241 is? Could you hold the elevator? Do you mind if I ask you a question? The goal is to become acquainted. Okay? I'm going to start asking those questions that are going to help me be seen as trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind. Right? Obedient, cheerful. Okay? It's your Boy Scout stuff. At the acquaintance level, my goal is to become acquainted and start figuring out some context where we can see each other. Oh, hey, yeah, we both like that. You should join our club. We have a whole club for Warhammer 40K. And you should come join us, you know, or we got a D&D group. You should join our D&D group, right? What's your major? Oh, yeah, I'd love to go see that movie at the International Cinema, right? At this level, at the acquaintance level, we're finding those common beliefs so we can create a predictable context. Once we have a predictable context, we're at the comrade level. At the comrade level, I can start asking you about the shared context, right? Man, what did you think of OtCon? Man, Jared's presentation sucked so bad. Can't believe it. I'm not coming back on Saturday for that crap, okay? Again, avoid strong opinions, especially if they're like hurtful, but you can talk about that stuff all of a sudden because you're in that context together, right? I can talk religion with people at my church. I can talk about school with people in my class. I can talk about the assignment, whatever it is. The goal, though, at the comrade level, and this is the goal for online relationships, those of you who are in online relationships or long-distance relationships, is you need to become someone that they can trust and hang out with outside that context. So in that long-term relationship, we're going to talk about it, you're going to keep hitting connect, ask, next steps, connect, ask, next steps, until finally you're able to get them to meet in person somehow, some way. And that's honestly how that relationship will progress. In the meantime, though, just doing connect, ask, and need next steps, you can maintain the relationship at that same level forever if you want. Friend level, again, you can ask much more, bigger asks. I'm hungry, you want to go keep talking over lunch, dinner, drinks? Could you watch my dog, okay? Or drive me to the airport, right? These are definite things that you've got to be at the friend level to ask this stuff, right? But at this point, you want to become someone that they value, enjoy, and they want to spend more and more time with in a one-on-one private setting. Yeah, question?
I'm not meaning not just a scam, but how can you tell if the person is sane?
From like online? Talk to trusted people. Bring it up with trusted people. Say, hey, help me look at this. I want to take off my rose-colored glasses, and I want someone to help me. And we've had students here at Scenic View. They're like, oh, this girl, she's contacting me. She needs help. She's really hot. And then you're like, Google this picture, and it's just some model's pictures that somebody's been throwing in. I'm like, this is called catfishing, right? And if you have someone who's trusted, they can help you through that stuff. That would be my biggest. Talk to me afterward if you want others. At the friend level, both people must want to be friends. They've got to have the shared interest. They're both initiating contact. They both want to share the time together outside of the comrade setting. And the more time you spend together, the stronger the friendship. Age, gender, and location matter. Professional friendships are really not friendships. They're the comrade level. Now, how do we know someone's not our friend? Someone should not be hurting us, abusing us, exploiting us, using us for our game system, right? Friends might argue, but they're not there to hurt us and embarrass us. They don't ask you to break the law or want you to violate your values. They're not using you for your possessions, okay? Again, I've seen that happen way too many times because so often we are so desperate for friends, we're like, yes, I'm going to keep them because they're at the friend level, when really they never even were on the pyramid, okay? On that last level, wow. You could like borrow their car or their clothes or their Netflix password, right? You can find out their hopes and dreams. When I was in Japan, you knew you'd reached the top level of the pyramid because they'd be like, out of the blue, people would be like, wow, I had the worst constipation yesterday. And you'd be like, oh, I guess we're there. I guess we're at that level now, right? Right? That's another level. At this level, though, you're going to keep reciprocating to demonstrate, okay? So now you've connected, you're having the communication at the right level, you even asked something, and they've responded, okay? You've said, hey, let's build this relationship up, and they're like, yep. So now you need your next steps. Just like with asking, there's an infinite number of next steps you could be doing. At acknowledgement, it might just be following up on that initial connect with some additional questions. Hey, I asked you what movie you're going to. Hey, me too, I'm going to that same movie. And you're in the theater before it starts and you talk to them a little more, even though you might be sitting 4 or 5 seats away, right? Or you might have got some contact information so you could contact them and become acquainted. At the acquaintance level, next steps all look like deepening the relationship, creating some consistent context. At the comrade level, you already have that context. So now you're strengthening your connection in that context and trying to get them to spend some time with you outside of it. At the friend, you're offering even more reciprocity. And close friend, you're prioritizing this relationship. They're always the first steps you're taking. The cool thing about next steps is they're all about reciprocity. Reciprocity is a fancy word, but just think of it like a tennis match, okay? In a tennis match, one person hits the ball, the other person needs to do what? Reciprocate it. They're going to hit back. Now, if you're both in the same game, it works great, okay? And as that back and forth happens, starting at the acknowledgement level, right? You have a little back and forth. Man, it sure is hot today. This is a long line for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, okay? And they say, yeah, it is really hot today, and yeah, but I can't wait for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and now I've got a common interest. Oh yeah, which was your favorite of the other two? And now we're building and building. That back and forth creates a history. So maybe we go in and we end up in different theaters, and I don't see him again, but a week later, I bump into him at the store, all of a sudden, I now have a reciprocal history, a context, where I can now say what? Hey, yeah, we were at the movies. How did you like it? I never got to ask you what you thought of the movie afterward. And you can pick up and keep getting acquainted. Yeah, question. It's the back and forth. Yes, yeah, volleying would be wonderful. It's a back and forth. Any kind of back and forth is what you're doing, because that back and forth is what all relationships are built on, okay? When I'm going to date myself there. Let me do a better one, okay? When for the very first time, my mind's going blank. For the very first time, when Link meets Zelda, right? Because we're celebrating that today. Very first time Link meets Zelda, they have no history, right? But then the next time there's a history, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time, and eventually it's all there. When Mario meets Peach, I should have used that one. Anyway, ask yourself though, whose court is the ball in? If you're always the one hitting the ball, are they reciprocating? No, 3 strikes, they're out. If, on the other hand, they're hitting you the ball, and you're like, oh yeah, they texted me like 3 times and I still haven't texted them back, are you reciprocating? No, and you're hurting the relationship. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love the audience participation, but I'm like, oh crap, we got like 10 minutes left, but yeah, go ahead. Sure. Wow, you don't ask small questions, but it's a great question. And no, but again, it's the same thing. You're going to find connections, and you're going to build on those with asks. And it might be that, yeah, you're like, I don't, talking is awkward. Go where they're comfortable. If you really want to get to know this person and you really want to make it so the relationship is stronger, figure out where they like to talk. I tell this to parents who have autistic kids all the time. They'll be like, well, I want them to talk about this. They need to know their shapes. And I'm like, why? Why do they need to know their shapes? They need to know their barnyard animal noises. Why? We don't live on farms anymore. What does a cow say? Moo. Okay, we all know that. Why? Who cares? Okay? What I tell parents is, figure out what your kid loves to do and get in there. And it might not be something you want to do, but because you really want to be in that relationship, eventually it's like, oh, now I know everything there is to know about Pokemon. Or whatever it is. And that's what I'd say. Get curious with that other person and keep helping them to see if they're willing to share that with you. And eventually as that happens, you're going to get more comfortable, they're going to get more comfortable, you're going to find more commonalities, and that may help. So, I got to skip it, I'm so sorry. It's okay. Really, moving people up is all about reciprocity. If you want someone higher up, you reciprocate at a slightly higher level than they are doing. Slightly higher. If you jump, it will kill it, okay? If you don't want this relationship or you want it to end, what do? And this is how neurotypicals end relationships. You don't reciprocate. You get it's less and less frequent that they text you, less and less frequent that they see you, less and less emotion when they see you, right? And if you want to maintain the relationship, reciprocate at the same level. So if I'm in a long-term relationship, a long-distance relationship, and I want to keep that long-distance relationship going, I'm going to need to keep my reciprocity the same. Now, you need to be sure when you're reciprocating that they're also giving it back. The difference in the reciprocation is the direction of your relationship. If my wife and I haven't been reciprocating for a while, it's weakening our relationship. If my wife and I have been spending more time together, more reciprocation, it's strengthening. Both sharing, both asking. Do you have to give reciprocity? Nope. I've talked to too many autistic women that are like, well, he bought me dinner, so I had to sleep with him. And it's like, that's not how reciprocity works, okay? So you can refuse reciprocity. You don't owe anybody anything. If you don't want to be in the relationship, the closest way to tell the person you don't want to be in the relationship is you don't reciprocate. Most of the time you don't say it out loud. Okay? Telling people you don't want to be in the relationship out loud hurts. So most neurotypicals will just gradually lower their reciprocity. You can do the same. How do you know you're in a healthy relationship? There's honesty, equality, the right amount of time, loving supports that are giving, both people respecting, able to talk about whatever you need to talk about in a way where you trust each other. And the only order to that is I wanted it to spell healthy. But Again, if someone's going to ask you out, you need to make sure this is a healthy relationship. Someone was asking, how do I make sure it's safe? Make sure you meet them in public the first time. Bring someone with you. If you don't want to reciprocate and they keep asking you out, you're not obligated to give them a long list of explanations. But so many of us with autism, we've been through so many conditioning programs that just taught us what? Compliance, right? It was all about saying yes to whatever the therapist was saying. And so what do we really struggle with? Politely declining anything. How many people are people pleasers in here? You'll just do stuff because people ask you, okay? That's how it goes. All right, so let's put it all together and wrap up. This is what I call the drip system, and this is because people are like plants, all right? If you have a plant and the plant isn't really growing, what do? Good, attention, water, sun, air, soil. You're gonna look for that. You're gonna change the environment and you're gonna do it. What happens if you give a plant too much water all at once? Too much sun all at once? Too much fertilizer all at once? Yeah, it kills it. With our relationships, especially when we're lonely, we often overdo it. How many of you have had a relationship with somebody that they just seem to want to move up that pyramid way faster than you did, right? Okay, we've all had that. And it doesn't work. So here's the drip system. And by the way, this is just connect, ask, next steps. Smile, or some other simple nonverbal connection. Ask the open-ended question. This is a connection and an ask. And then when they respond, you listen actively. And then you're going to validate what they said. And you're going to share a small related item. Drip. Just give them a little drip of you. I've talked to so many autistics that are just drowning the other person that they're with. And they don't even mean it. And I'm like, oh, it's so sad. This is a true date. Girl was telling me, she's like, oh, there was this autistic boy. I was nice to him. And he asked me out. And finally I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go out with you. And he shows up at my house in a limo with a dozen roses, a big teddy bear, a box of chocolate, the balloon filled with more chocolates, because he was like, I'm just gonna reciprocate all the things. And she's like, I was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I thought we were maybe going to the movies. Guess where that relationship went? Nowhere, because he didn't drip, he drowned, right? And we don't want to drown them, we're just dripping. Yeah. Yeah, and again, that kind of reciprocity is not cool. This process, though, repeated over and over again with little drips, you can eventually add more and more, and that's a great C.A.N. Now, what do we do when it doesn't go as planned, right? Relationships, how many have been in a relationship where things don't go as planned? If you haven't done that, you haven't been in a relationship. It's okay when things go wrong. 3 things I wanted to talk about. This is why I showed this video earlier, because I knew we wouldn't have time. Gamification is good. Starting to look at it as, I'm building experience, and I need to play on the right level. If I keep losing the game, I don't have the right equipment. I need to go do the grind, right? Making small talk is a grind, okay? But I'm gonna go do the grind and make those connections and start building up from acknowledgement, because it's a game, and I'm gonna play at the right level. If anxiety is stopping us, how many of you have social anxiety? Autism comes with social anxiety on top of all of our other anxieties, because humans tend to be aversive to us. All right, so this is my system. I picture a blue stop sign in my head. And then, if I'm starting to freak out, I just stop everything. Okay? Stop whatever I'm doing. I push pause on whatever's going on. And then I'm going to take a breath. In through the nose, out. I'm going to take a moment to get reconnected, more present, grounded with what's going on right here, right now. And then, once I've reconnected with what can I see, what can I hear, what can I smell, what can I taste, what can I touch, I'm going to figure out what is it I want in this situation. Am I connecting? Am I asking? Am I figuring out next steps? Am I reciprocating? I'm going to go do that thing. Okay? And if I keep doing this, it keeps making it easier. Because if you know why you're in this, it's like, why am I talking to this person? Oh yeah, I'm connecting with them. What level am I at? Oh yeah, and I want to get to this next level. Then you're going to be able to keep going even though your brain is giving you these danger signals. Last one I recommend is the social autopsy, which is like, okay, have a friend in your life you can go to and be like, I've killed it. Okay, killed what? The relationship, okay? Or I had a really bad social interaction. Someone you can go to and be like, man, Heather hates me. And there's a kid at school I could talk to, and I'm like, why is Heather hating me? She used to be so nice. And it's like, dude, she asked you to prom. I'm like, no, she didn't. On my test, she wrote, your prom date. When we signed stuff, because that's a joke. Dude, she was asking you to ask her to prom. Oh, well, no wonder she hates me, okay? Now I know that legitimately happened to me. So, social autopsy, it's in your handout. This is just a key thing to do right after things go wrong. So, in conclusion, connection, relationships, belonging, these are needs we all have, right? And so we need to create part of our autistic hyperfixations, our special interests on socializing if we want to have those relationships. And then our brain starts saying, oh, I can make systems for this. And yes, it can be hard, but don't give up, because you can have the relationships you want. You'll have to build those social skills. You'll have to create and modify the right social systems, the C.A.N system or whatever else. You'll have to deal with the anxiety and the rejection, because sometimes those happen. You're going to have to put in the time and the effort. And you're going to have to watch out for your safety and your values and stay true to yourself. But guess what? So does everybody else. This is how this works. Neurotypicals don't have some free pass on this. I know tons and tons of couples. Many of them met much later than average. Here's Damien and his wife Kelly. They're going to be on a marriage panel this next hour. Many of them are on their second or third marriage or relationship. Many of them facing and dealing with challenges. Here's Anthony Hopkins, who got diagnosed with autism in his 70s, and his third wife, and they're doing great. Daryl Hannah, who just had her first baby at 61, it's actually twins. It's like, all right, Daryl, go for it. All of them are discovering unique ways to connect, because it's going to be a unique relationship. Final point. If you're having struggles with relationships, it does not make you a bad person. Your self-worth does not come from your relationships, okay? You do not find your worth within your relationships. Find your worth within yourself, then find a relationship with someone worthy of you. Always remember that. You are worthy of amazing relationships. You can learn the systems to connect with people, because the world is filled with lonely people, like the Beatles sang, okay? Look at all the lonely, lonely people. We can connect, ask, and keep moving to the next level and steps. And we can do it in a way that will be helpful. So thank you so much for your time. There's in your handouts as well, and also in the slides, I have some appendixes on things to do when you're feeling really lonely, some additional systems we didn't have time to go over. And so, again, look at this stuff. I'll send you the slides and things if you want. But whatever you do, even if you're like, again, man, whatever Jared was saying, that made no sense at all to me, but I sure wish I had some way to connect with people. Keep building that thought. Keep using your autistic superpowers, and you will find some pretty awesome relationships, because the world is full of people who want to connect. Thank you so much.